I'll get one up here, one here. All right. Can't go wrong with that. What's happening, guys? Another episode of Cooking with Volk, and we've got something a little bit different for you. I know we always do steaks, right? Everyone knows how to cook a steak. You know, there's plenty out there, but we wanted to see what is better. I'm going to cook these steaks exact same out of an expensive steak and a cheap steak. So I try to make sure I got the same sort of cut. So I could have went, you know, and cheated it and got a really nice Wagyu steak that's thicker, and just got this little, you know, tiny, cheap ass other steak. But I wanted to try and get as close as I could, one being a higher grade steak and one being a lower grade steak. So it's not Wagyu or anything like that, but we've got a grass-fed sort of Scotch fillet or ribeye, however you want to say it. And then obviously we're just gonna get a lower grade Scotch fillet as well. So let's see how this goes. As you can see, quality steak, cheap steak. We've got the sticker there. So the guys at Superior Meats, they do some good steaks over there. So they went above and beyond to make sure we made this as fair as possible, but I got a lower grade and a higher grade. So let's get into it. So I'm gonna turn this way. So you're always gonna know that the cheaper steak is on the right and the expensive steak's on the left. For you guys, you know what it is. This one here, expensive. That one there, cheap. So what we're gonna do, pat it dry. I'm gonna cook them exact same time. Resting time, you already got it from the shop. Obviously haven't put it in the fridge because I come straight from the shops not too long ago. So they've been resting a bit, pat it dry everywhere, and I'm gonna do it at both exactly the same. I wanna keep this as fair as possible, right? There you go. Nice, sticky and dry. All right, and you can even tell, even just by looking at them, you can sort of see that even though they're the same part of the body, you know, same part of the cow, they just look that little bit different. Let's see, you know, I'm obviously looking at that and thinking that looks like a juicier steak to me. I don't know, you might think different. You're probably gonna hear the little one on daddy duties as well. Girls are at school, but we've got this little one who's gonna be watching us do, well, she's probably watching, this is her first Cooking with Volk episode she's got to be a part of, so well done, darling. So first what we're gonna do, salt it up. So I've got my stupid little bowl, and we're just gonna salt these bad boys up, yeah? Again, I'm gonna do them all exactly the same if I can. I'm gonna leave this for 10 minutes though. For about 10 minutes or so it can still get more room temperature, and maybe that salt can do its job as well, right? Let's go here. You can put some on the sides here. All right, so now I'm gonna leave that for about 10 minutes. While I'm letting that sort of rest that a little bit longer while the salt's doing its job, get the barbecue nice and hot, ready, and get everything sorted. Duty calls. All right. Now, wash my hands. All right, so sorted that. That was plenty of time. Get that barbecue hot. Change the baby's nappy. Wash my hands real good. And now I'm just gonna pat this dry. You know, you can see a bit of the water come out, like I said, letting it rest there, get room temperature, and obviously having the salt, let it do its job. So I'm gonna try and wipe it off. You get some of the salt off, don't worry about it. We're gonna marinate this again. Salt and pepper it, season it, sorry. I'm just using the avocado oil. Look, every bit of oil does a different thing. Some of them smoke more, smoke less, better with the hot heat. The hotter it is, whatever it is, they all do different stuffs. Avocado oil I like to use, so let's do this. So I'm gonna put some oil on this, yeah, move that around, doesn't matter, be generous. A lot of this is gonna fall off obviously while we're cooking, so a bit of extra oil is always good, right? Probably more than I needed, but who cares, it looks good. Look at that shine, there we go. All right, get rid of your stupid little bowl. So I've got salt and pepper in here now. Get that the other side. Salt and pepper from your stupid little bowl. Maybe I can put around the edges as well. Again, I want to make this as fair as possible. So I'm going to put extra seasoning. So you know what? They're all going to be good with extra seasoning. I think it's going to come down to obviously the tenderness and how it feels, the texture of how it feels while you're eating. I think that's what it's gonna come down to. Flavor, maybe a little bit, but I mean with the season that I put in, you're gonna taste the seasoning. All right, so season, room temperature, The barbecue's nice and hot. I can see it smoking over there, and we're just gonna get these on there. So just so you remember, lower grade, higher grade, let's go. So we're gonna chuck it on again, nice and hot. I'm gonna put it on the cast iron side, get a nice sear, yeah? I'll get one up here, one here. I don't even wanna go a minute on the side because I'm gonna let this sear again later as well. I can eat them blue if I have to. I'm gonna cook these exact same time. So when you see me turn, I'm turning both, all right? That's one turn, that's another turn. So we've got a good sear, as you can see. The obvious things that you will see, some of the steaks, the more fat you got through, going through, you know, once that renders and goes down, a lot of that flavor is gonna go through the meat and it's gonna tender the meat a bit with that extra oil going through. This is how I usually like to do my steaks as well. I like to set them aside, which I'm gonna do now. I like to wrap them up. I'm gonna keep this real hot because I'm gonna sear it again. I want this to rest, yeah, so I like to cover them up. I just like the flavors, you know, sitting in there and going there. Well, I actually like it, me and my wife don't mind it straight out of this. Obviously everyone loves a good crust on their steak, which I will do for you. I'm gonna get a better crust, I will sear it again. But I even like it out of here. So you don't get as much of a crust, but there's just something about the flavors and the tenderness and all that. It's still the tenderness is there, and then the flavors. It's like a bathing in its own flavors and juices, which I don't know, something that we prefer. But again, you're going to get a lot of chefs and that. We're going, you're crazy, you can't do that. Well, I did, and you ain't going to do nothing about it. You know, with a good steak, a really good steak, you know, your Wagyus and that, it's going to be hard to stuff it around. You know what I mean? Like the fat through the Wagyu is going to render through, and it's always going to be tender. You know, some people, you know, still like a medium. It depends. With a Wagyu steak, a little tip while we're waiting. A little tip with your Wagyu. If you've got a really high grade Wagyu, you know, marbled, like whatever, the very high marble, it can be very rich. If you're having a couple of little slices, all right, you know, having it medium rare is good. But I mean, if you were to have a decent sized steak, it's very rich, it's very, very fatty. You're probably gonna be like, oh, it's a little bit too much. But sometimes when you get it more to the medium side, it renders that little bit more, and a lot of the fat just goes through and the flavors go through the meat a little bit. So you can do that with the ribeyes here as well. So I'm gonna let that, you know, they say make sure you let it rest for half the time that you cooked it. I let it rest a lot longer. So I'm gonna, again, I keep it warm, so it's not gonna cool down. In that'll stay warm for 10 minutes. Mate, you can let it rest 10 minutes, the bit more the better, especially if you're gonna do a sear at the end. You know it's gonna stay warm, so the longer you can let it rest, the better. All right, so I'm happy with that. That's enough resting. I'm gonna leave some of that fat there as well. I'll leave. So I wanna get a good sear on this. Different parts if I can. Get the sear. That's why you want it real hot, because you don't want to end up cooking it in the middle too much. Get that crust. There you go. Okay. So, moment of truth. As you can see, higher grade, lower grade. I mean, let's do a press test. Both. That one's definitely seems more rare. So balled up a little bit. But let's see how this goes. Carve that up. Still looks good. That's one. Much easier to cut. So let's do the taste test. So cutting that one cut a lot easier. I felt like with the lower grade, it did feel that little bit tougher, to be quite honest. Even the fat sort of caps on the edges felt that little bit chewier as well. Even the cut through, it felt a lot harder to probably cut, to be quite honest. But taste, let's see. I'll just go in the middle of both, right? Yeah, good. Like I feel like I could just break that with, you know, with my lips. Especially with the the cap around the edge of the Scotch filler, the higher grade rum. This one didn't really have that cap right around. Let's see how that is. All right, so it looks good. To be honest, I don't mind the look of it. To be quite honest, going through majority of the meat seemed reasonably tender. You do get some chewy bits in there, but you might get some chewy bits, but overall the flavor still there. See like how much harder it is to pull. Not too bad though, considering. You know what I mean? Not too bad considering. Look, I'll be lying to you if I said that the cheap steak was as good as the expensive one. But cooking the cheap steak the same and doing everything, I'm still pretty happy with that. You know, what would I rather, you know, if I was going to get out an actual steak for me to eat with the family, cook, and then, you know, eat it by itself with maybe a salad and some chips, and, you know, that being the actual masterpiece of the dish, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna spend that extra $10 or whatever it is, you know, probably not even that much, because again, I didn't go Wagyu, I didn't go anything crazy. Per steak, you might be saving $5 to $10 maybe. You know, that's probably fair to say. I would definitely pay that to have a steak by itself. But when we're talking the other steak, you're out in the barbecue camping and all that, more than good enough. If you're gonna make steak sandwiches, slicing them up like that, or do what I wanna do right now, what I like to do sometimes, get a bit of, yeah, say, I'm gonna get some of this, warm these up. Again, with this one, especially with this cap around the side, look at that. Like when we're talking, like that literally it's just gonna fall apart. The fat bits, tender. You do notice the difference. So I will say, expensive steak, same cut, cooked exact same, the expensive steak I'm gonna go with. But I'm not saying that this is, I would not do it. I'm actually pretty impressed with this. I thought it'd be worse. A little bit more chewy, maybe not as good flavor. But once you slice it like that, it's again cheating. I slice it a little bit, it's all gonna be tender enough. But that's what we're gonna do here. Gonna get that, beautiful. All right. Now, like I was saying, the cameraman and I are gonna nibble at this steak, enjoy that. I'm gonna chuck this in here. So what I will do, again, a lot of these flavors I said I like, maybe just, yeah, a bit extra, all right, why not? Chuck that in there, beautiful. Now that steak for stuff like that, can't go wrong with that. Maybe that little bit more chewy. Flavor's still really good. Maybe I'm leaning with flavor sides more to the more expensive steak. But again, you can just see that falling apart. I believe I've got a better crust on the more expensive steak as well. So I'm gonna eat the steak by itself. If I'm gonna eat, obviously if I'm gonna choose one to eat by itself, it's definitely the more expensive. If I'm gonna make something, sandwiches, wraps, you know, maybe slice that up and put it with a stir fry, whatever it is, I'm gonna use your cheaper steak, lower grade steak. So I think that we all knew what we were gonna lean towards in what would be better. But I will say this, you go to the right butcher and get a lower grade steak, it's probably gonna be better than just your normal supermarket, because I'm still pretty impressed with that steak. Definitely more expensive steak is the way to go. You know what I mean? Can't argue with that. And to be honest, it's getting better and better the longer it sits there. I think my cameraman's just watching me eat all the food and he's getting a bit jealous. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Thanks for tuning in. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you want me to go a Wagyu versus a cheap steak, whatever it is. If you've got ideas for me to do my cooking show, please let me know. Make sure you like, subscribe, do all that, comment. Again, just let me know what's going on. Let me know what you're thinking. Thank you for tuning in. And remember, if you've got a couple extra dollars for a steak, maybe get that. If not, get creative and have some fun with whatever steak you got, because this is actually very nice with the wrap that I did. Chuck that on the barbecue, use the same flavors from the steak, laughing. So, hey, I'm going to love yous and leave yous. See yous later.